Hello. I'd like to take a few minutes to speak to the Christians in America about our neighbors. It's my first video, so bear with me. I'd like to point out first of all that the Bible mentions the word neighbor 107 times. And the first time that God says to love your neighbor as yourself is in Leviticus 19:18. After that, in the New Testament, Matthew 5:43, Matthew 19:19, 22:39, Mark 12:31, Mark 12:33, Luke 10:37, Romans 13:9, Galatians 5:14, and James 2:8 all talk about loving your neighbor. In Luke 10:27, Jesus says, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor." Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy strength, with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. And then he's asked, who's my neighbor? And of course, Jesus gives the parable of the guy that's on the side of the road and they pass down the other side away from him. For us today, the other side of the road is the whole world. We have jet planes, we have huge cruise ships, nobody is just on the other side of the literal street. Our neighbors are everybody. And it's really been put on my heart to do something about our neighbors, because as Christians, it's our responsibility. It's one of Jesus told. He commanded us, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. So I want to talk about something that nobody wants to hear about, and this is to the Christians. First time, or where it's mentioned, I should say, in Leviticus 27:30 and 32, he breaks down your tithe, which is 10%. And you got to remember that the money, anything and everything we have is God's. It's not even ours. That's why he says to be a good steward. So for what he asks us to give him back that belongs to him is a small portion of what we have. It would not surprise me that the majority of the Christians have ice cream in their freezers. But yet, every day across the globe, there are thousands and thousands of children that die from starvation, the lack of basic medical needs, fresh water. And this just crushes my heart. Now I've got some numbers that they're a little older, but I think they apply, and they're probably worse now than they were then. But in 2005, the average giving of the Christian was 2.58%, which is sad to say that during the Great Depression in 1933, the average giving was 3.3%. So I don't know what caused that, but if we were to give the 10% that we're supposed to, this would generate $168 billion in 1 year. Now these figures are, like I said, these are from 2005. Now I want to point out some other things. Um, in 2006, $179 billion was spent on teenagers from the ages of 12 to 17. In 2008, now this isn't necessarily Christians, these are Americans in America. In 2008, $65 billion was spent on jewelry, $58 billion on lotto in '07. $39.5 billion was the total U.S. assistance to foreign countries. $31 billion on pets in '03, $13 billion on cosmetic surgery. Now, the really disturbing part about this is that less than 40% of the $168 billion in 2005 could eliminate most of the extreme poverty on the planet. To bring education to these people, these children don't even have a school or a book. $6 billion would bring basic education to the planet. $9 billion clean water, and basic health and nutrition for the world, $13 billion. Now, I appeal to you as a Christian. This is not our government's problem. We cannot sit back and say, oh, well, I pay my taxes, so the government's supposed to be taking care and helping. Well, we all know what they do. I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about what God says to us, which is love thy neighbor. He tells us to feed the hungry, clothe the naked. What are we doing? Are you willing to love your neighbor? Doesn't the same things that break God's heart break yours? I know some of you give 10%, but just think if the entire Christian body in this country gave 10%, what could we do? What kind of an example would we be as Christians? I don't have anything set up to send me money because I don't, that's not what I want. That's not what this is about. Go to your church. Ask them to see a statement where the money's going. And look at the percentage that's going to help missions in other countries. If you don't want to go through your own church, there are great organizations that you can contact and donate directly to them. I can't even get in my refrigerator anymore to get something to eat and not think about children starving or dying because they don't even have clean water. Don't you think it's time we get on fire